Welcome to the Nairobi Health Show, everybody. I've got Chase Chewning, who is a fellow podcaster. Chase, thanks for coming on the show.
Dave, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And you have like a legitimate podcast, like 1.8 million listeners or listens or whatever, right?
Legitimate, I guess, is a fair word. Yeah. We just recently crossed over that 1.8 million download threshold.
Nice.
And it's been a lot of fun. Very well received. I'm grateful.
Well, for those of us that are hobbyists doing this, we just go, wow, that's really awesome. Way to go.
Keep going, man.
Absolutely. I love it. It's a lot of fun. And it's not my main thing. I do it because I'm a health geek and I own a supplement company. That's what I do for a living. And I wanted to be able to connect with my audience and provide them as much information as possible. And of course, that's what you do. You have a podcast, well over 1 million listens. You've interviewed over 500 people. When I had a look earlier today, I think it was 562. Does that sound right? Maybe more?
Yeah, I can, as of today, January 4th, yesterday went live. I can do Monday and Wednesday releases, 562 episodes. Yeah.
562. That's a lot. And because we're at the beginning of a new year, like you, I've interviewed a lot of really interesting and amazing and talented and knowledgeable people. And I learned so much, right? It's just amazing. And we don't know what we don't know. And there's so much to learn, more than anyone can possibly learn on this planet. So that when we interview these people, a lot of times, even though we think we might be expert in our field and have degrees and we've taken classes and courses and read all the books, but we haven't read all the books. We don't know everything. There's always surprises.
I'm trying. I try to read all the books.
Oh, do you? You're a reader?
Big time.
Me too. Although I have to admit, I've converted to Audible. I'm doing a lot more listening than physical book reading anymore, but I absolutely love it.
It's great. It's great to double dip as well.
Yeah. And so you're a reader, you're educated, you're in the field, you've interviewed a lot of people. And so what I want to do today is really kind of pick your brain for some of the best, the tips, the ideas, and a variety of different subjects that could help people, whatever their goal is. And so we'll try to hit a few different areas and just see what comes up for you. We're going to do like a stream of consciousness.
I love it.
Yeah. We'll hit a topic and just say, Chase, what have you learned? What do you think? What are some of the top ideas?
All right. No pressure. Time to not look stupid, Chase. All right.
It's going to be fun. No pressure. But first of all, I'm going to read your bio so everyone has a little more background on who you are. A Virginia native and Army veteran, Chase is a Virginia Commonwealth University alum, graduating from their Health, Physical Education, and Exercise Science undergraduate program in 2013, having completed his MS in Health Promotion from American University in Washington, D.C. He also holds credentials in ACE Certified Health Coach and TRX Certified Suspension Trainer. He has always been interested in wellness since growing up, eating fresh food from his grandparents' garden, playing baseball throughout school, and enjoying time in the mountains surrounding his family's Southwest VA home. After 6 years of active duty, Chase was medically discharged from the military due to a string of injuries that ultimately required him to have bilateral reconstructive hip surgeries. After learning how to walk again twice, exercise as medicine and healthy lifestyle modifications became his passion. So Chase, that's quite a bio.
It's funny. Every time anybody reads it back to me, it's just kind of like I'm enthralled. I'm like, wow. What? Oh, wait, that's me. Wow. I feel like I've lived a lot of different lives. Yeah. Soldier, civilian, student, teacher. And I'm like, damn, I feel like I should be a lot older, but I've had a lot of life packed into the last 36 years.
I'll bet. And being so dramatically injured, I guess we could say it that way, injured to the point of having to relearn how to walk. Would you consider yourself fully recovered, or do you still suffer from some lingering effects of those injuries?
That's a good question and a tricky question, because I feel like the more and more over the years I have rehabilitated physically, I've come to realize that the body keeps score in a lot of different ways, so to speak. Another great book, by the way. And the more and more I recover physically, I come face to face, and the more I surrender to rehabilitation and healing and my wellness journey, I realized that, with significant physical trauma and with significant injury and just life in general, there is a mental and emotional imprint that is
Mm,
also left that, at least me personally, I definitely did not address equally or on the same timeline as my physical training and
interesting.
treatment. And so,
Mhm.
so to sort of kind of directly answer your question, I think physically my recovery and rehabilitation has gotten to a point to where I'm very, very happy. Good days, bad days, mostly good days. My orthopedic surgeons, every time I go in for my physical, actually want to redo my left surgery, my left hip, due to just some minor re-injuries that happened shortly after my first surgery. And so more or less I'm good there, but I've had a lot of trauma recovery and mental recovery, emotional recovery from these injuries and past experiences
Wow.
that definitely I attribute to this kind of root origin.
That's a great answer. And I hope people listening picked up some hints there about that, because we tend to often think of health as just physical. How much do I weigh, right? How strong
Mm,
am I? How fast can I run? How much can I lift? Those types of things. How fast do I heal? Am I a good healer? How's my body, right? And yet, as human beings, we're just not a purely physical. We're not robots.
right. Yeah, we're multifaceted. We have many, many layers, and a lot of the layers we can't even see. We don't even know we're there, until maybe, I hate to say it's too late, but we don't realize they're there until we need to know they're there, right?
Right, right. Interesting. Okay. Well, New Year's. It's a new year. And a lot of people now my demographic might be kind of different than yours. And I don't know honestly what
Mm,
exactly your demographic is, but from your channel and from what you're doing, I'd assume you have a lot of athletes, performance, people interested in performance,
mm.
that type of thing.
Sure.
My demographic is a little bit older, maybe, than the average health podcast listener. Their number one concern is weight loss.
Mm,
And one of the biggest challenges they have is developing a personal movement plan or becoming more active, becoming healthy. And so uh, I'd like to address some of those issues. Now, weight loss is not unique to my audience, of course.
mm.
Um, but let's start there, because we know that one of the top goals people have in a new year is to shed some of those pounds.
Typically, right? Yeah.
And so, from all your knowledge and all your interviewing, what are some of the key things you have learned that you would share with people to help them reach their goal this year?
If I had to really dig deep, I feel like I could come up with a lot more than, just, three or five. But it's, I think there are a lot of ways to apply a universal answer to this question: is how do we as human beings lose weight? Um, but it's also important to remember that we are very, very unique individuals. We have very, very unique bio individuality, meaning quite literally my body is totally different than your body. And we might be the same age, we might be the same or similar weight or body composition, but there are a lot of things that make us up internally. There are a lot of biomarkers. There's a lot of family history, epigenetics. There's a lot of lifestyle that goes into and beyond what we can just immediately see and measure. And so I know that might kind of sound on both ends of the spectrum, hypocritical. There's stuff that we know works for humans, and there's also the fact that we need to remember, hey, you are different than me, kind of thing. Um,
Yep.
but it's a good place to start. And so I think for weight loss, a good place to start are these kind of universal principles of what do we know it takes to just, to burn more and consume less. What do we know it takes to get into this healthy energy exchange? Step one in anything, and especially when it comes to weight loss, is awareness. You need to be aware of what you have coming in, and you need to be aware of what you have going out. I'm going to lean more on the side of be more aware of what you have coming in terms of how much food am I consuming, my calorie count, the type and quantity of calories, beyond trying to manage more so and throttle your energy expenditure, how many calories you're burning, because there's more room for error there. It's much more difficult, it's much more tedious. And I would argue also for most people, it's not that necessary. The important thing is that you're moving, not necessarily, how many calories you're moving in an exercise experience or a physical activity experience.
Yeah.
So step number one, awareness. Bring awareness into what you have coming in. And this will do one of two things for people in my clinical coaching experience, as well as just, life. You will be radically surprised of how much you are eating, or radically surprised by how little you are eating. Under consuming calories is one of those sleeper things I think people don't think of, or don't think is that important when it comes to losing weight, particularly losing body fat. A lot of people in my experience, especially when I was in clinic as a health coach, they were radically under consuming calories by 500, even not if not more. And when you're consistently under consuming calories, consistently under when you're giving yourself not adequate nutrients on a regular basis, the body, it begins to kind of hold on to body fat a lot more, because we're in this kind of, I'm sure your people have heard fight or flight. We're in this, the scarcity kind of physical aspect. And so the body thinks that it's not going to get enough food that it needs. So I'm going to hold on to body fat. I'm going to store more body fat and hold on to it longer. Body fat is nothing more than our body's energy reserve tank. So if we're not giving it what it needs on a regular basis, it's going to look out for us because we're maybe not looking out for ourselves. So under consuming calories, you might have this realization after bringing awareness into what you're eating. And by that, I just mean a simple thing like a food log. It could be, I had breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks. I ate at these times. Or you can even get into calorie counting, macronutrient counting, things like that. There's kind of a lot of different ways to do that, but just be aware of what you have coming in. Because I think, like I said, under consuming is very, very, it's like a sleeper agent, basically. And you might find, which is very weird, that you need to actually begin to eat more calories. You need to bring up your daily caloric intake, so that your body can begin to let go of body fat, before you ever even begin, burning more calories or losing calories. And then if you're on the other side of it, of you're actually over consuming, well, then I think that is like the starting point for most people in a weight loss journey. Oh, I had no idea that this sandwich I get every day from the deli that looks healthy actually has all of these, sauces, or it's this really calorically dense bread, or I had no idea it's 2 layers of cheese. So just, you might be finding these little things that are sneaking into your nutrition, into your diet, into your food choices, that is more than you need or want. And you can begin to just slowly eliminate those. And, that over time, we know the slow reduction, consistent reduction of calories over time, we need about, if you want to lose, 3 to 5 pounds a month, you need to be dropping for about 500 calories a day. So, there's your extra cheese, there's your extra mayo. I mean, there are your extra little snacks, maybe, like nuts and things like that are easy little quick snacks that people don't realize are very calorically dense. Just by reducing or maybe temporarily eliminating certain things can actually have a long-term high yield in terms of your weight loss journey. So awareness, number one, absolutely, for me right there. Beyond that, I would also recommend, I'm a big believer in quantitative data, at least as a starting point. And by that, I mean particularly biomarkers. I mean, getting your fasting labs. I'm a big proponent of that, especially if it's been a while since you've gotten labs, blood panel, basic metabolic panel. If you haven't gone to the doctor, gotten a physical in the last year, I would recommend getting this. It's a really good starting point because, again, there might be something that is going on that is beyond your awareness that can be a very simple, easy start, that is not only going to contribute to your weight loss goal, but also your longevity, your health, your wellness, your vitality, your energy, all these things. You might have elevated cortisol. You might have decreased vitamin D levels. You might have a very off omega-3, omega-6 ratio. So you might be running more inflammatory. You might have a high C-reactive protein. You might have some kind of family history of something that you're not fully aware that is contributing to your body keeping fat, particularly a high A1C, a high fasting blood glucose count. You might be insulin resistant. And these are all these things that you could be trying all the things and you're not moving the needle at all, or not maybe moving the needle as much as you would like, when in fact you just got something internally that if you could become aware of and then work with your primary care provider, your health professional, that might be a very easy start. So awareness in those few areas right there, I think are like huge catalysts for people, and they're relatively simple starts.
I love that. And I totally agree with you on the, a lot of people, they think the gym, they think I need to lose weight, so I need to hit the gym. And your emphasis on intake versus output in terms of calories is really important. And for those of you listening, I can demonstrate this very easily and quickly why I agree with what Chase just said. And that is, if I got on this rowing machine, I don't know if you can see this behind me. Let me turn my chair. Anyway, I can't even figure out how to.
I see a handle
say
back
right
there
now.
floating around.
This is my office / gym, and rowing is one of the exercises I do quite a bit. And I can work really, really hard for about 15 minutes on the rower, high intensity workout, and burn about 240 calories. Okay. That's a lot of work. And 240 calories in 15 minutes, I'm ready to just like curl up in the fetal position beside the machine and just catch my breath for 5 minutes. I mean, it doesn't, it might not sound like that if you've never done it, but it can be that way. Well, that's 240 calories I burned. There's exactly 240 calories in a Dr. Pepper, 12 ounce, right? Not the monster size from 7-Eleven, the big gulp, right? 12 ounces. And so the ability to work off excess calories when you're drinking soda and having treats and just consuming too much, like I said, the sneaky cheese, the dressings, etc. I absolutely agree with that. You can't out train a bad diet, right? So I love that. Anything else you want to add on weight loss before I surprise you with my next one? My next question.
I think just the timeliness of where we are. You know, the new year is for, I don't know who started. I want to go back in time and really, you know, ask the person, why did you start this trend of every new year, I'm going to just go hard, take care of my health, go to the gym, walk more, eat less. You know, it's just, you know, weight loss is this majority kind of human goal this time of year. And I say that because I think that's an important rule for us to consider when we're looking at any area of our life, but especially weight loss. Why? Why do I want this? And more importantly, why do I want this now? Am I attaching myself to a goal that I think that I want? Am I attaching myself to a goal because everybody else around me is doing it? And I think you could make the argument that, well, okay, getting in better shape, losing weight, losing body fat is a fair universal goal. I don't think anybody would disagree that, okay, if we all adopted that, like it probably wouldn't hurt us in the long run. But in the long run, are we going to keep it up? And you
Right.
need to have an established why, and you need to have a very clear vision for your version of success and your journey so that you're starting for yourself. And when you do that, that's when you can look back in 4 months, 4 years, and know that you are on the path because you chose to, and you're still on your path. You're on your wellness path, your weight loss path, or eventually even maintenance. Whereas the vast majority of people who start a new year weight loss journey, I think it's last statistic I read is, you know, maybe like, I think like 12 to 16 weeks. Like usually it's like 12 weeks is when pretty much everybody tanks. Like gym memberships are down. Nobody's going to the gym as much anymore.
Wow.
You know, all those things tank. So, and it's because I think they have attached a goal, somebody else's goal, you know, to their journey. And then that fades. There's no adherence. There's no possibility for adherence when you're doing something for somebody else's version of success versus your own.
Wonderful. I like that. And that makes sense. And in my coaching, my health certifications through Precision Nutrition, and the first thing they teach us to do with the new client is the 5 whys. Why do you want to lose weight? Because I want to get in my old jeans. Why do you want to get in your old jeans? And then you get reason after reason, and you'll spend 20 minutes with a person getting to the 5th why. And at that point, they might be in tears.
Oh, usually, right? And it sounds weird to say out loud, but honestly, if you were doing your job right as a coach, and if you were doing your job right as a human being and being very objective and brutally honest, the root cause, and I will make a very blanket statement here. I think the root cause of most humans' deep drive to change how we look, to change how we feel even, is rooted in some form of a trauma. And that could be from just maybe growing up poor, or, you know, the need to, one quick little explanation story I'll have here is I had a client who I worked with for over a year in my clinic. And the moment she got below 300 pounds, she was morbidly obese for decades. The moment she got under 300 pounds, there was some kind of trigger that hit that her subconscious told her, I am no longer safe. She missed sessions. She began to regain weight. Come to find out, she explained that if she got small, she felt unsafe because growing up, her sisters and her mother were physically abused and sexually abused by this other man in their life, but he did not touch her because she was the bigger one. She was the oldest and she was a little
Oh
bit bigger as a
man.
child. And so there was this imprint made of, if I get small, because her mother was smaller, her sisters were smaller. There was this imprint made of, if I get small, I'm unsafe, and the loved ones
Wow.
around me are not safe. And there were tears, her tears and mine, when we got to this realization. So that's what I'm saying. If you're doing your job right as a coach, and if you're doing your job right as a human being, being very brutally honest and objective, it's okay. I want to go to the gym. I want to lose weight. I want to go to the gym. Why do you want to go to the gym? It's because I want to look better. Why do you want to look better? It's because the last time I looked better, my partner wanted to have sex with me, or, I felt good about myself, or I got a promotion when I was a certain body composition. We have these kind of attachments that, if we just dig deeper, there is usually a correlation and a causation there. And that is the trick to sustainable weight loss and sustainable happiness, I think, because of course, maybe the work needs to be done for weight loss through fitness, nutrition, and healthy living. But if we can also simultaneously address, or even just simultaneously acknowledge, that root imprint, then we're going to be making significant life improvements and not just a number on the scale.
Fantastic. Excellent. I love that.
Mm.
I'm glad I asked that question and that we went far enough down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very important concept, and one that I think not enough people realize, or are not recognizing, or not giving it the respect that it deserves.
Okay. Speaking of giving things the respect it deserves, how much respect are you giving to intermittent fasting? Are you considering it more of a fad, untested, a proven health concept you want everyone to do? Where do you stand on intermittent fasting?
Great question. Interesting question. I think intermittent fasting, like a lot of other dietary approaches, blanket statement, can be looked at as fads. But they're fads when they're not respected, like you just said. They're fads when they are not taken into when you are not taken into consideration to the diet, instead of the other way around. I think there is a very great place for intermittent fasting. I think it works well for a lot of people. I would probably recommend intermittent fasting for someone who, for really any dietary change. I again would go back to my earlier statement of getting baseline metabolic panel, get with your medical provider, look at these kind of key biomarkers that are just a foundation for any change in your diet, any change in your supplementation and stuff. I think intermittent fasting would be more suited for somebody who is definitely not insulin resistant, who is doesn't have blood sugar problems, who is not like I would say on the verge of just slightly soft and maybe slightly overweight. I think it has more of a pushover effect, a jumpstart effect, if you will, for people who have more weight to lose, but also don't have some other kind of metabolic health concern going on. And also, I think it's a great tool for people when looking at lifestyle. If you want to adopt a dietary approach based on your lifestyle first, which I think is a great way to go about, because someone like myself, or maybe you, Dave, is just very, very busy. And when you're looking at, like I was talking about earlier, that awareness, maybe you're radically under consuming calories. Well, it's because you get caught up in your work. Well, you're busy, and next thing you know, it's been 8 hours and you haven't eaten. Well, there is your ability to just like choose, I'm going to adopt an intermittent fasting lifestyle. So I'm going to give myself the grace and lower my stress and lower any shame possibly associated around I'm not eating enough, or I'm so busy. And there's your opportunity to just choose your lifestyle first, what you need to work, and then create something that is going to work around it. And then you just know, hey, I'm not just stressing out about not eating all day. I'm choosing intermittent fasting. I'm going to schedule in a work break. I'm going to break my fast. I'm going to eat. So I think lifestyle is a very key concept when looking at intermittent fasting as well.
Okay, fair enough. Next, a personal movement plan. Many people I talk to don't want to work out. I'll just put it bluntly. I mean, they want to, like they see the benefit. They would love to, and they just can't seem to get themselves started. And it's quite a tough situation. They see the benefits, and for some reason, there's a group of people out there that know they ought to work out, and they really have a tough time getting started. Now, is this something you've dealt with much in your professional career?
Oh, yes. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And usually it goes back to what I was saying earlier about, it's what we think we should do. It's what we think we're supposed to do, because we think that is going to yield us the results that we want. Especially if we're keeping the key concept here of weight loss. particularly body fat loss, your best bet is to actually just bring awareness and adopt some form of consistency in your nutrition, particularly a caloric deficit. So just becoming more aware of what you're eating and then just lowering that amount on a consistent basis is actually going to be more beneficial. You're going to have quicker results and longer lasting results by just focusing on nutrition. Because once you start adding in nutrition and caloric restriction coupled with exercise, so you're choosing to consume less and choosing to burn more, that is when your body is like, well, which do you want me to do? It can work in the short term and it can work for, I think, people who have significantly more weight to lose, but I would only really adopt that protocol for a short term basis, maybe the first, 6 months or so. But then beyond that, I think, again, just go back to why. Well, like, why do you want this? Again, is this something you think you're supposed to do? Or do you think this is the one thing that you can do or should do to yield this result? And I think people they overanalyze what exercise really needs to be for them. I honestly think that for most of the people out there who have right now a weight loss goal, just increasing your general daily physical activity is going to be way more sustainable, way more realistic. And by that, I just mean, can you park in the furthest spot in the parking lot before you go into work versus the front? When you go to the grocery store, can you take the stairs instead of the elevator? Can you set an alarm on your clock on your phone every hour for 5 minutes to just walk around your office, walk around your home? Do you have a wearable? Can you get an Apple Watch? Or, I use Apple Watch and Whoop. Can you bring some sort of technology into your life that is going to give you gentle nudges and cues and feedback? So like, oh, wow, like I didn't know I've been sitting down for the past 4 hours. Let me just stand up. The more general movement and activity you can bring to your life, I think I know, I would definitely recommend before anyone trying to jump the gun and go all in on just, I need to go to the gym 8 days a week kind of thing. Introducing more and more consistent physical activity. Also, case in point, walking is one of the most slept on modalities for fat loss, for weight loss. Then, that I would prescribe as like, here's your exercise as medicine. Well beyond any like workout program for body fat and weight loss for most Americans, most people, because of the amazing ripple effect it has for so many other benefits, but also for fat loss, for weight loss. And it's more realistic for most people. If I told you, hey, Dave, let's work on getting you to take a 20, ideally to 30 to 40 minute walk a day. Do you have as much stress or anxiety or worry or fear about that versus, hey, I need you in the gym 4 days a week for an hour kind of thing? Because that's something most people can do. It's free. It's just much more realistic and attainable.
Convince people. I hear this. I believe it. I enjoy walking. I also enjoy the gym, but I have a dog and I walk her twice a day and we go for a long time. We happen to be lucky to live. I got mountains close by and I can walk to the lake from my house through farmland. It's beautiful and it's fantastic. And I feel really spoiled, but that's true for a lot of people. A lot of people can quite easily get somewhere nice. Whether a city park or just some really nice stretch of blocks or streets or something. But I think a lot of people don't believe it.
Mm,
I think they don't
yeah.
believe it. When you say walking is really great and has all these
Yeah.
benefits, they go, nah, that can't be. What? So,
Say,
so
no, that's not going to get me lean. It's not going to get me losing weight, but it absolutely will.
why?
So there are a couple different things. When we analyze what walking really is, it is what's called low intensity, steady state exercise. There's an acronym we like to throw around in the exercise science world called LIST. So if you see LIST before you look at any kind of cardio program, it's going to be low impact. It's going to be lower heart rate, but typically a little bit longer than you would something like a Tabata or a high intensity interval training. When you're looking at intensity and time, they typically kind of go opposite. So the more intense a cardio session is and the more intense a workout is, the lower the time is going to be typically. The lower the intensity, the higher the time. It's just kind of this trade-off that we need. So when we look at why exercise works for weight loss and particularly fat loss, is because we know for fat loss, low intensity, steady state exercise, in particular, low intensity, steady state cardio works very, very well for weight loss, for fat loss. A couple of the reasons why, and I don't have any off the top of my head studies that I can reference, but if you reference this, I promise you there's mounds of clinical evidence. It's everything else that it does. Like I said earlier, this kind of ripple effect that walking has for the human mind and the human body. So beyond list, there's this one study I was reading a while ago that there's this energetic force, this measurable energetic wave that is so unique to the gravitational force on humans in a typical kind of normal walking pace.
Interesting.
That has this reverb effect that goes back up into the brain. So what I mean by that is typically a common casual walking pace, let's say you're walking for 30, 40 minutes at a leisurely pace, you can still hold a conversation. Maybe you get a little out of breath here and there, but it's that pace and the gravitational force on the human body that has this reverb effect bouncing back up from your feet, through your knees, through your skeletal system, back up to your brain, that is very, very calming, and over time will help you naturally lower cortisol levels. So that's doing a couple different things for you. What do I mean by lowering cortisol? You're lowering stress. And when you do that, who wouldn't want less stress in their life? Who wouldn't want to lower cortisol? Who wouldn't want to go for a walk and to be working on your weight loss journey, but to also be working on lowering your stress, lowering your anxiety, and all the other things that unchecked, prolonged stress contributes to, that I'm sure we would all appreciate less of. But also when we look at weight loss, fat loss, if we can work on lowering cortisol, because we know that when cortisol is elevated, and particularly when cortisol is elevated long-term, the body likes to bind onto and store more fat and hold on to it for longer. It's this whole kind of fight or flight situation we're into again. So not only you can do two things in one time, basically. It's in what I say, the whole energy reverb is that it stimulates the brain, stimulates the mind in a way that helps us during the walk naturally lower cortisol, feel less stressed out. And also, how many times have you gone for a walk and that's when you have like, oh, I had this epiphany, you have this great idea, or you remember this person you're supposed to call that has slipped your mind? It's because the mind, the brain, quite literally is in a very, very relaxed and open state to allow these things just to kind of flow naturally. So it does some really cool things there. So it's list at its core. This measurable energetic reverb from the ground up to our brain to help us feel more calm and relaxed, to lower cortisol. And also to kind of take a page out of the Japanese book, I forget what it, I'm having a brain fart now, excuse me. Speaking of brains, there's a term, but basically it's called force bathing. And we know that when we are, out in nature, it just has natural calming benefits. And also when we're talking, if you can walk outdoors, you're getting in touch with nature, you're getting natural sunlight, which hopefully is going to give you some more of that vitamin D levels, which also, depending on when you're walking, might really contribute to your circadian rhythm. So if you choose to walk maybe at sundown, when you're getting full spectrum light at the end of the day, you're going to get a little bit of vitamin D. It's not going to be as prime or as optimal as you would first thing in the morning, but that's also going to help reset your circadian rhythm. That's going to trigger these photoreceptors in your eyes to tell your brain, hey, let's again lower cortisol. Let's begin to bring up melatonin. Let's lower and slow most organ functions. That is going to contribute to a better night's sleep consistently. So it's the most bang for your buck thing I think most people can do. And also, hopefully, maybe you got a walking buddy, your partner, your spouse, your kid, your dog. You get this synergy of human or even pet emotion and together time. And it's a win-win in all fronts, in my opinion.
I love it. That was excellent. And some of this I didn't know. I'm a huge fan of walking. I enjoy walking. Much of what you said resonates. But that was really interesting. You had a couple points there that I want to learn more about. The whole energy reverb concept is really interesting.
It is. And, I see, I got your AirPods on there. There's a great chance to throw on your AirPods, listen to a podcast, listen to an audiobook. You can, I'm not a big fan of the term multitasking because I think it's a myth really, but hey, if you're going to go on a walk and you want to catch up on a book, there's a great opportunity to do so as well. Take a phone call.
Yeah. And I'm a meditator. I have a meditative practice and I try to make some of my walks meditative. I enjoy listening to an audible book or a podcast while I walk, but I try to make sure I'm not doing that 7 days a week.
Walking is my meditation as well. My meditation, I'm a walking meditator. I just go and I just be present with my thoughts and my body and nature. And I'm with you on that, Dave.
Have you ever done the very, very slow, true meditative walk, Thich Nhat Hanh style?
No, no, what's that?
So Thich Nhat Hanh, do you know who Thich Nhat Hanh is?
No, no.
He's a great, very famous Vietnamese monk. He was a friend of Martin Luther King. Um, Nobel Prize, never won, but was nominated multiple times for the Peace Prize.
Wow.
Heads of state go to him. He's a Vietnamese monk, and a great writer, speaks several different languages. And he's written a variety of different books on meditation and mindfulness and whatnot. And he has poems that you recite while you walk very slowly. And he talks
Oh, wow.
concepts like kiss the earth with your feet, like every step, feel everything under your feet. And he'll have you walk very, very slow.
Oh, I see what he's
Um,
doing there. That's sneaky mindfulness and breath work. So if he's recommending these patterns for you to read and to have this mindfulness connection, that's also kind of, well, passively, but therefore actively working on your breath control as well. So the breathing techniques, mindfulness, that's
yeah.
amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. It looks kind of strange. You feel kind of strange if people could see you. You're going so slow; it's really noticeable.
I live
But
in
you got to
LA.
kind
Nothing I could do would be weird.
of. All right. Well, there's a little something you could follow up on if you're
Mm,
interested. Those of you listening, Chase, whoever, if you're interested in the Thich Nhat Hanh, Thichich,
very cool.
Nhat, Han, Hahn, interesting writer, poet, and Zen master. Well, next subject, and that's nutrition. Now, we touched on it a little bit when we talked about weight loss, but of course, I'm going to lay out a little scenario for you, a scale, if you will. And on one side of that scale are the purists, who, in a perfect world, would eat nothing that wasn't organically grown in their hippie garden. There'd be no sugar. There
Yeah.
would be nothing impure at all. And on the other side, let's take the absolute worst example of of the SAD diet, the standard American diet, of someone who maybe has coffee and a donut for breakfast, junk all day, and maybe finishes off with pizza and a 6-pack of beer. Okay, so two extremes. Okay, so first of all, where would you say that you fall on the scale after all your experience and learning the various? You obviously know what the junk foods are and what sugar what harm sugar can do, and all the various things we consume that can do us harm. So I know that's kind of a very vague question because I don't know exactly how you'd throw the dart, but just stream of consciousness, kind of how would you describe a good place to live between the scale of the complete terrible diet that unfortunately some people have, but the maybe extreme diet that would be incredibly hard to follow in our society, that's very pure?
I think an argument definitely could be made, and there are a lot of studies out there, I'm sure, that will clearly show you and prove irrefutably that if we can just get pure, non-processed, minimally processed, organic foods, fruits, vegetables, focus majority of your diet on that, getting in lean meats if you choose to eat meat. I don't think anybody would disagree that that is better. And like I said, there are plenty of studies that will show that is better compared to maybe a control group of donuts, coffee, processed food, all these things. I mean, so there's
No
the
doubt.
scientific part that is like the, but you know what? I'll bring this full circle, Dave, and I'll say if one of those passes you to the person listening, watching right now, you are right. You are right because you are exactly where you're supposed to be because right now you're bringing attention and awareness to what you are consuming. And like I said earlier, awareness is the first key concept we need to have before we can make any change in our life or even think about making any change. And what I say by that particularly is, or what I mean by that, excuse me, what I mean by that particularly is usually when we're looking at what we're eating, we're looking at our diet and we're looking at what we think we're supposed to be doing, or we're looking for the right answer, the right diet for the right goal. Again, like I was talking about earlier, there's usually associated with it this slippery slope of, oh, well, then what I'm doing is wrong. also there can be a slippery slope of, oh, well, what I'm doing is right and I'm better than thou kind of thing. And the quicker we can get to this realization that no matter what we're doing, it's okay. Like, because that right then and there is going to give us grace and it's going to reduce shame. And when we're looking at particularly the nutrition protocol and weight loss, those are two very, very important things that we need to be mindful of. And I would encourage us to implement and to, build into our protocol, regardless of our diet, regardless of our exercise, increasing grace and decreasing shame. And so if we can just look at what we're doing, I grow all my vegetables and I farm raise, grass fed, everything. Or I'm the person who's just, I grab whatever's convenient and, whatever. There's a reason you do all that. There's this root imprint that has been made on us as to why we choose this diet, why we eat these things, why we don't, or why we use food as coping mechanisms, or why we even go the opposite route, such as like orthorexia. And we become so obsessive and so focused on only organic and only clean and all this stuff. If you can peel back the layers, first of all, give yourself the grace, like I said, as what I'm doing, what I'm eating is okay. And it's okay because I'm aware of it right now. And I'm aware that I want to become clear as to why I'm eating it. And I want to choose the changes that I'm going to make. And then begin to just peel back the layer of, well, why am I so concerned and obsessed about all organic, grass-fed everything? Or why am I unsure? Why do I not seemingly care about my body and the food choices I'm making? And why do I just grab a beer every night after work? Or why do I order a pizza every night? Or why do I have donuts or fast food every breakfast and lunch? And just begin to kind of just allow yourself to be okay with where you are, because you're choosing to change it. And you're going back into, well, when did this first happen? Why do I do this? What are the circumstances around it? You will be doing yourself a great service, like I said earlier, of kind of addressing the mental and emotional aspect to this, that I promise 9.9 out of 10 people is really the root thing that we want to be working on when we're looking at weight loss. It's not the right diet. It's not the cleanest diet. It's not the less processed diet. It's not the most active one. It's the one that you understand why you are doing it, and then the one that you can do for the longest term.
I think a lot of people don't understand that. I think I hear what you're saying, and I think accepting where we are and showing ourselves grace, those concepts are great. And I agree, because I think there's so much guilt associated with certain foods. And sometimes there doesn't need to be. A person can eat so well. Like, I'll go back to an earlier thing that you said about blood work. Okay. I'm a huge fan of testing, not guessing. Okay. So for my own personal goals, I'm currently doing a plan where I'm getting a nutritional panel every 6 months. And I have goals in terms of my weight. I have goals in terms of I have a fat percentage that I like to keep. I have goals in terms of longevity. And so I want to avoid disease. And so when I get those blood panels done, I want to make sure that the major markers are in line. And I know from my own science how much I don't like to use the word cheat, but I like to have a treat, right? I have treats, right? And so those aren't a cheat because they're planned. Like for me, I have treats on Sunday. I try very hard to avoid them all week long. This is my personal thing. When I say try really hard, if I go to a wedding on a Friday night and they have some delicious food out there, my wife says, "Hey, do you want to share a piece of cake?" And honestly, I kind of feel like a schmuck if I'm like, no, honey, it's not Sunday.
Yeah.
You eat the whole thing, right? Like,
there's a time and place for that, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, as long as those biomarkers look good, that's my verification. There's other things too, how I feel, do I feel good? Am I sleeping well? There's a lot of other things that go into it. But let's face it, most people don't want to be biohackers. A lot of people aren't interested in going that far, and really geeking out on health like you and I do, right? And so, and they may not understand. I think a lot of people don't understand what a healthy diet is. And so I've laid out kind of those extremes. We all know what an unhealthy diet is. And I think we also all maybe know someone in our own circles who is the organic hippie farm eater who maybe looks down their nose at other people at the party, right?
Yeah, I got a few.
So maybe just some guidelines. nutritional guidelines that you found to be tried and true that most people can follow and trust in?
Sure, yeah. I'll say a great guideline is that you are probably underhydrated for sure, dehydrated quite possibly. The initial physiological manifestations of hunger, excuse me, of thirst
I need a
feel
drink.
like, yeah, exactly. I'll cheers to that. Feel like hunger. And so this might be a great starting point for you in your weight loss journey is, are you actually hungry? Or what if you just pause for a few seconds to listen to that growl? Does it feel or sound different? And use it as a cue to go, when was the last time I had a sip of water? When was the last time I filled up my water bottle? Start there. I
Okay.
think,
Water.
especially with weight
Love
loss,
it.
focus on water. Even if you
Yeah.
think you're killing it, I promise you, just by having one more glass a day, you're going to be doing yourself a great service.
Okay.
So focusing on water. Also, a great guideline is sleep. Honestly, it could be a whole other episode all about sleep and the important
Mm-hmm.
principles it has for life, longevity, especially weight loss. Um, Sleep. Uh, and if you think you're getting enough of it, I would challenge you to bring awareness into this aspect of your life as well and measure it. By that,
Are
I
you wearing
mean,
an Aura ring?
so no, this is just a wedding band, but
But
I use a Whoop band to track my sleep.
you're Whoop. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Device like this has been amazing. This is probably my favorite thing in the world. I've been using it for over 2 years. It is the best daily little awareness dashboard to nudge me in the direction I want to make for how hard I want to push my body or how easy I want to take it. A lot of it
Okay.
has to do with the sleep feedback. So
Okay.
hydration, sleep. By measuring it, I mean with sleep is looking at, are you consistently going to bed at the same time? And are you consistently waking up at the same time? If you can
Right.
bring those two to be more consistent for, a week, a month, I promise you, you're going to see and feel benefits and changes from that. That would
Okay.
be number one. And then
Yep.
after that, I would say, stick with nutrition and then make exercise last. If you had to kind of build this hierarchy, I would even actually kind of flip it now that I'm saying it all out loud. I would probably go bring awareness first to sleep, hydration, nutrition, and then physical activity / exercise. And for the nutrition, I'll say just increase vegetables. Again, blanket statement here: increase
Yeah.
vegetables.
Love it.
You can't go wrong there. And then lastly, especially for weight loss, I would say, ramp up or even begin your exercise routine.
Okay. That's fantastic. I want to jump now into you've done all these interviews.
Mm.
You've had so many people on, and I just want to ask you: has there been things that a certain guest has said along the way that's really surprised you? I mean, you already have a deep understanding of fitness and wellness, but what are maybe some of the latest scientific findings or something a guest has said that really surprised you in a positive way? Like, wow, I did not know that. Something come to mind that's like maybe a recent discovery or some claim that a guest made that took you by surprise?
Um, I'll answer that in a way. It's kind of a little bit backwards. For me, when looking at overall wellness beyond just weight loss, I mean wellness in every way, and especially like we've been talking
Yeah.
a fair amount about mental and emotional, and the tie that it can absolutely have to our physical being. Um, Honestly, I've become very, very intrigued, personally, and looking at clinical evidence and other anecdotal experience in the world of plant medicine, and it has been something I've been studying for years. And by that, I mean talking to professionals, talking to peers, looking at studies, particularly with psilocybin, and as well as ketamine therapy. Um, and when I look at what the results people are getting in clinical trials, and particularly for me, that the VA is doing a lot with psilocybin,
Right.
MDMA, ketamine, because I'm prior service myself, and I just see the results people are getting in getting their physical life back, quite literally getting their life back, being able to hold a job, marriages getting back together, their body letting go of all this trauma finally, therefore also letting them, train more and let go of body weight. It's profound to me. And so it's been so how I'm answering your question is like things that have become curious to me, I then have been able to seek out other experts and people to have on the show to then like really crack open their brain on. People such as Ronan Levy, the founder of Field Trip Health Clinic out of Canada. They're here in the United States as well. People like Kelsey Ramsden, the CEO of Mind Cure. People like Tracy Comlos from Fantastic Fungi, and all these other people in the world of particularly psilocybin, ketamine, and MDMA therapies and nutrition is just my personal belief and statement is that plant medicine, and in particular psilocybin, psychedelic mushrooms, I believe are the tip of the spear for the future of medicine and for root emotional and mental health healing that is going to open up Pandora's box in a good way for the human potential, human optimization, weight loss, improved sleep, a lot of different things. And I can also say that personally speaking, through my personal uses and experiences with plant medicine and psychedelics, the light years in terms of healing it has given me in single doses and single experiences, both recreationally and assisted therapies like ketamine assisted psychotherapy. I've had one experience with psilocybin to where it was so profound and intense. This accident that I had, these injuries I had in the military, like I had to learn how to walk again twice. I've had both my femurs, my hips completely reconstructed. I'm like hardware from the waist down. And one very profound, deep experience, I quite literally felt this energy that had just been pent up in my hips and my midsection that just, I just felt this release. Imagine the best foam roll of your life. Imagine the best stretch, the best deep tissue massage of your life. People, you get that, you know what that feels like. You have this just like, it's like your muscles in your body can just breathe finally, let out this exhale. Well, I had this happen, and Dave, I kid you not, the next day I went into the gym and I was hitting new PRs. I was pulling weight on a deadlift. I'm a big deadlifter, compound lifter fan. And like the numbers I was pulling with the ease don't make sense for me. Like things that I haven't touched in, 1 to 2 years. And it's because that's an experience that my body let go. And this trauma was just, was opened up and released, and my body was so receptive to that. So, yeah, I'm a believer, man.
For those of you listening, I've got something I'd highly recommend that you listen to if this is new to you or you're not aware of this concept, or maybe you're even fearful, because the word drugs in our society is one of the most misunderstood. It's a terrible word. We've applied the word drug to everything from aspirin to psilocybin to LSD.
That's why I try not to use it.
I like that. And but most people listening, they are. As soon as they hear psilocybin, ketamine, etc., they just think drugs. And that word has been ruined, right? It was ruined historically. It's been ruined by the war on drugs. But
yeah.
Download the Waking Up app and listen to Sam Harris's 20-minute speech on drugs. It is amazing. I've played it for my kids. It's fantastic. And so I'd throw that. Have you heard it, Chase, by chance?
Oh, yeah. That's a game changer piece of content. And for a lot of other people too, Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind, I think it'll change your mind, most likely. It's just a very, 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 very great read. Great book. I would recommend.
Okay. And I throw that out there. I like you, I am watching that whole thing. I'm very interested in this research being done at Johns Hopkins and in England. For 40 years, we stopped studying psychedelic medicine. And, it was 40 years lost. I mean, how many veterans could have been helped if we would have stayed on the research that was started in the 60s? Now, for a good reason. There's a good reason why we are very careful of these compounds. I
Absolutely
totally get that. Absolutely. But Chase, that's really an interesting answer. I didn't know where you would go with that one. It was just kind of such a vague and open-ended question. You could have gone anywhere, but that was a great answer. I like that.
Thank you. And I always try to be as open and honest as possible in any answers. And the range, true to your original question, the range of guests that I have on are in the health, wellness, personal development space. It's every episode for me. I usually walk away with just an incredible nugget or nuggets to share. But that's the beauty of what I do now as for a living and where we are in the world. If there is something that interests you, And especially in your wellness journey, if you feel even like, like naturally interested in something, there are so many resources, so many ways to dive deeper into that, so many ways to explore it, safe, effective ways, um, information, clinical studies, and authorities and experts in these worlds now that we can just have more regular access to. That I think is a great gift. And especially when that gift, you can bring into your life, bring into your practice, your fitness, your nutrition, your mental and emotional health. It's amazing. It's life changing. And I think this kind of where we are in the world now, um, we shouldn't lose sight of that, because to your point earlier, for like 40 plus years, we couldn't talk about this stuff, or it was so underground, so taboo, or there weren't these, Johns Hopkins trials. And so just latch on to progress, latch on to this stuff for sure.
Yeah, interesting. And there are there's so much going on in our world. Someone was recently telling me that in the last 5 years, we've advanced more in nutritional science than we have in the previous 40. I don't know for sure whether that's true or not, but it sounds right. Just from studies that I've seen, things that I've learned in my own journey. So it is a fast-paced world. There is a lot to learn. It's fun. Like I said, you guys like me and you, we geek out on this stuff. Everyone listening may not be such a geek, but hopefully you're picking up something from it that's just helping you. Like one nugget at a time seems to be how we improve our health. Now, speaking of which, we need to wrap up. I've kept you here for a long time. I appreciate it, but I won't keep you
My
much
pleasure.
longer. But first of all, how do people learn more about you, and what do you do? What do you have to offer the world right now? What is it that you are a pitch? Do you have a pitch here for us today?
My pitch is just, like I said earlier, for everybody just to truly hear and to believe and to apply this phrase that has brought so much value into my life this last year in particular, is that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. You are exactly where you're supposed to be right now in your fitness journey, your nutrition journey, your weight loss, your weight gain, your mental health, your relationship, your job. Just bring awareness into where you are right here, right now. Bring joy into that because you've made it this far, and allow yourself grace and allow yourself to reduce any shame associated to maybe where you think you should be. So that's my pitch. Seriously, genuinely, is just bring awareness to that phrase. And if you've enjoyed what I've been talking about here, this is really what all I do now. I'm a full-time podcaster. My show is called Ever Forward Radio. I say I have three main pillars: fitness, nutrition, mindset. And if anything you've heard here today that you like, odds are I'm going to be talking more about these concepts of personal development, wellness, human optimization, even some military and entrepreneurship over on my show, Ever Forward Radio, anywhere where people listen to podcasts. And if you want to kind of follow along my daily journey, you can follow me on Instagram at Chase_Chewning. I'm sharing probably too much, but damn near everything that I'm using and applying in my life for my fitness, my nutrition, my wellness, my everything. I share what's working, what's not, different protocols, different exercises, different, nutrition hacks and stuff, different supplements. And I'm just, a walking, talking, storytelling, Instagramming, kind of wellness N=1 study.
I love it. Well, Chase, thanks so much for coming on my show. I really appreciate it. You've been a great guest. You've brought us a lot of really great information that people can apply
My
into
pleasure.
their lives. And you gave me a lot of time here. I usually shoot for 30 minutes, but this has been 58 minutes according to the clock.
That flew by.
Time flies, right? Well,
Yeah,
thanks
it
for
was
being on
great.
the show. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And for those of you listening, this is Dave Sherwin wishing you health and success.